Hey everyone, James with tfbtv, and there's something that I want to get off my chest today. Have you ever had fantasies? You know, like been alone by yourself with your thoughts and thought, God, wouldn't it be hot if Glock made a... So today on tfbtv, we're talking about the top 5 Glocks that don't exist, but should. All right, guys, number 5, easy one, total layup. In fact, it should be higher on the list. Glock Carbine. I know, everybody says Glock Carbine, Glock Carbine, Glock Carbine. But when you put somebody on the spot and say, oh, really, you think a Glock Carbine? Well, what should the Glock Carbine be? Nobody can really flesh that answer out. Should it be like an AR-9? Should it be its own animal? Should it be roller locked? Should it be... And that's the thing, nobody's really got an answer. Now, what would I like to see? I'd like to see something with fist-to-fist reloading, like a pistol, of course, using Glock magazines with Glock reliability, but I want it to be a little bit special, not just like a straight blowback Uzi, or like a glorified Glock 18 with, say, a chassis kit on it. I want to see a genuine Glock SMG or carbine or PCC. The good news is it's been done before. Do you guys remember the Magpul FMG?
Thin in profile, looks like a flashlight. Walk your dog, take the garbage out, get the mail. If any problems occur, anything you need immediate action with, can get on target and go with it. It's a folding machine gun. It's very Transformer-esque.
That's right, the Magpul folding machine gun. It looks like a little black lunchbox of death. And whenever you click this button or flip a switch or whatever it is, like a Decepticon, the thing opens up and you have a Glock with a stock, fist-to-fist reloading. And it's not really a carbine because it's probably gonna be like 4-5-inch barrel. So it's not like a true carbine as much as it is like a PDW. But I think that's what I would like to see. I mean, this was such a good concept. How has nobody taken this and run with it? So regardless of what your concept of what the Glock Carbine should be, I think we're all in agreement. We'd really like to see a Glock with a stock on it come straight from the factory. Big shout out to 511 for sponsoring the episodes this fall. Let's roll right into number 4. Those of you who are familiar with my typical top 5 list, number 4 I always kind of save for a controversial pick, and this list is no exception. I'm gonna have to say the Glock 11. There was like a Photoshop or a concept or airsoft or something like floating around for forever of a Glock 1911. And really, in the grand scheme of things, would that be that bad? You'd have to, of course, make it single action only. I mean, you can't do a striker fired 1911. It would have to be a single action only. But of course, having a Glock polymer frame and all the Gen 5 improvements to the slide, like maybe PVD coating and the Glock Marksman barrel, those really awesome Mariglow bold night sights on it, that would be really sweet. What's the main hang up with 1911s? Reliability. Well, Glock's gonna make the Glock 1911, so you're not gonna have that problem. It's gonna be reliable. And you're not gonna confine yourself to 45, or at least I think you shouldn't. In my vision, my picture of the Glock 1911 in my mind is a single stack 9 or 10 millimeter. Or both. That would be pretty badass. I mean, we've already seen with the Glock 48 and the Glock 43X that Glock can jam 10 rounds into a single stack magazine that's roughly the size of like a Glock 19 magazine two-dimensionally, just looking at it in terms of overall height. And it's gonna be slightly thinner, so that would be perfect using the Glock 43X or the Glock 48 magazines in the Glock 1911. So you're gonna get that great 1911 trigger, but you're gonna have lightweight from the polymer frame, you're gonna have reliability, it's going to be rust proof, and you're going to have not an old ass obsolete caliber like 45 ACP with 9mm or 10mm. I think this might be the first time I would actually consider carrying a 1911. And can you imagine if they did like commander size? That would be really cool too. Ooh, I'm getting all hot and bothered thinking about it. I think that that's a pretty solid controversial number 4 pick. It's never gonna happen, ever, 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 ever. Moving on to number 3, you know what would be kind of cool? A rimfire Glock. I know, sounds kind of crazy, because Glocks have always been made in defense calibers, right? You already have some like maybe knockoff Glock 22s or like those shitty conversion kits, and you can make your Glock a Glock 22 for like training purposes. But I'm not talking about that. In fact, I'm kind of sick and effing tired of cheap, shitty 22 conversion kits for like Glock, SIG, HK, whatever. I would like to see manufacturers actually make their own 22 that's going to be reliable, that's going to be practical, that's going to work. I mean, that's the thing, is we're all inoculated to this idea of a 22 caliber Glock or SIG or whatever the case may be, because in our minds we're thinking about these shitty conversion kits that break down all the time and they're made out of like zinc. But then you think about guns like the Ruger Mark IV, the Browning Buck Mark, and these are serious, reliable 22s. Why shouldn't Glock be able to do that? It'd be awesome to have a Glock 22 that had like, I don't know, 10, 15, or 20 round capacity or something wild like that. Like borrow a page from Kel-Tec's book, but make it 100% reliable, make it out of quality components, and maybe even throw a threaded barrel on it. That would be kind of cool. Again, you have to get yourself outside of, oh yeah, 22s are junk. I mean, think about it. Think about if you could make it 100% reliable. And inexpensive, less expensive than a normal Glock, or it'd be even cooler if it were in something like a Glock 19 size, so you can just buy one and you've got a cheap, fun training gun that you can use too, that's manual of arms, size, everything the same as your Glock 19. Also remember, 22 is cheap, so that's tons and tons and tons of practice. You can take your gun, like your service pistol or your carry pistol, and instead of having to blow hundreds of dollars worth of ammo at the range every month, you can just spend a few bucks, shoot some 22, and get plenty of practice in. Easily, if the gun sold for like 350 bucks or something like that, something less expensive, that you would make your money back in several range sessions, like 3-4 range sessions. You'd probably have your money back shooting 22 versus shooting 9mm or 40 or 10mm, whatever the case may be. So I know that that's kind of an oddball pick. I'm not really that big on 22 myself, but I think that that would still be a really neat design. Moving on up to number 2, probably gonna get in trouble with Glock for saying this one, but I'd really like to see a modular chassis Glock. For those of you who don't know what the modular chassis is, look at like the SIG P320, which I know it's like a dirty word. You can't talk about Glock and SIG P320 because they're like rivals. But if you look at the SIG P320 and what they did, it was pretty brilliant. What they did is they serialized basically a chassis that goes inside the frame, contains all the trigger components, fire control group, and you can take that chassis and you can swap it from frame to frame to frame. If you want a subcompact Glock, you can buy like a Glock 26, right? And if you want a compact, you have to buy a Glock 19. Go to the gun store, pay more money, like another 500 bucks, do another Form 4473, and then you're like, I want a duty size. I want a Glock 17 now. Back to the gun store, Form 4473, background check, 500 bucks every single time. The brilliant part about a modular chassis is you can go and buy the gun. Just buy like, say, the Glock 19. You would buy your Glock 19 and you would have the most popular frame size of Glock, the compact size. But whenever you're ready to go to like a Glock 26 or to a Glock 17, all you got to do is take that trigger pack. You can buy the slide, you can buy the frame separately without doing a background check, have it mailed to your house, drop the trigger pack in there, boom. Now you've moved from compact to subcompact, from subcompact to full size. I would love to see Glock do this, and I don't think there's anything really preventing them from doing it other than, I guess, decades of tradition. So it's a shame because it's probably never going to happen, and at the end of the day, I guess I really don't mind accumulating Glocks. Now, let me walk that statement back a sec, because I said it's never going to happen. It already kind of has. Many of you may have seen my review of the Zev OZ9. A lot of us know Zev as the Gucci Glock manufacturer. They make really high-end, really expensive Glock modifications and custom Glocks. Great brand, love those guys, but their stuff is super expensive. But they had the bright idea to actually make a modular chassis Glock, and they've done it, and they did a great job. So you can buy the Zev OZ9, you get the trigger pack, but I think the trigger pack just in and of itself, that registered component is like $500 or $600. And then you have to buy the slide. But it'll take, you can use like at least, I know, a Gen 3 slide. You can put a Gen 3 upper on the Zev OZ9 and boom, it's good to go. And they sell the frames for like 50 or 60 bucks. So you can swap frames, you can swap slides. Now, I guess the one downfall of the OZ9 is that you are basically committed to the chassis that you buy because it's a full length chassis. So I'm not sure that you can buy like the 17 length chassis and put a 19 length slide on it. You might be able to buy the 19 length chassis and put a 17 length slide on it, but I don't think vice versa. So while they did a good job, and I like the full length rail and the full length steel chassis that they have, and it's very shootable. In fact, guys, this is an incredible gun, and even at like 1,600 bucks or whatever it is street price, I still think it's a pretty good deal. I explained that in greater detail in the review video. But that said, the one thing I feel like they could have done a little bit better is they could have done like SIG and made that just the trigger pack, made that registered component just the trigger pack, not the full length of the internal chassis, because then that commits you to certain slide sizes and it somewhat defeats the purpose. It is kind of neat that you can have like a 17 slide and 19 frame, but it's not as versatile as it could be. So in any event, I would love to see Glock actually make a modular chassis frame, similar to the Zev OZ9, but a little bit more flexible and less expensive. Finally, and I think this is a case of be careful what you wish for, because I'm not sure that I truly actually really want a single stack 10mm Glock. I'll talk about my reservations in a second, but let's talk about the benefits. Guys, this would be like the 357 Magnum revolver of our generation. In fact, 10mm is even more powerful than 357 Magnum. Plus you get greater capacity, plus you get faster reloading speed, plus you would have that Glock reliability that would probably match a revolver's, and on top of all that, you've got less recoil than a 357 Magnum wheel gun. Why is that? Well, because you've got the reciprocating slide mass of a Glock or an auto pistol just generally. That's going to soften the recoil considerably. So you're going to have a gun that's as powerful as a 357 Magnum revolver, probably just as reliable, but with a greater capacity, faster to reload, and easier to shoot more accurately. Now, of course, shooting a 357 Magnum revolver, or any revolver for that matter, with a single action trigger is pretty freaking easy. However, that also requires cocking the hammer every single time. And that first double action pull from any revolver, especially a 357 Magnum or something larger, it's not going to be the best shot that you're ever going to take. So not only do you get less recoil, but you're going to have the same trigger pull every single time from your single stack Glock 10mm. Now, Glock 10mm already exist. You have the fantastic Glock 20 and Glock 29, but those are big honking guns. And what if I want to carry one on the daily, just in public, right? I love the new Glock 43X and Glock 48. They're svelte, slim, easy to carry, lightweight, and the grip. Just something about them. I mean, they just feel great in the hand with that single stack, that new single stack magazine that they're using in these. So I love the way they feel, and I would love to see them do that with like, this is of course a 10+1, the 9mm. They could probably do like a 7 or an 8+1 in a 10mm frame and make it only slightly larger than this, right? How awesome would that be? And I say be careful what you wish for, because I think this is something that could possibly happen, but I think the recoil is going to be a little bit of a bear, no pun intended. Now, I will say this. I did a video a little bit back. Every now and then I'll do videos about talking about wilderness defense, and I did one comparing the Glock 20 to a 44 Magnum Smith & Wesson revolver. And you're looking at comparable power from both guns, comparable. But shooting the 44 Magnum, dude, that thing goes flying out of your hands. And I took some of my buddies who hadn't shot guns before and had them shoot the Glock 20 next to the Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, and the gun's like, the 44 is flying out of their hands. I'm not saying that a single stack 10mm is going to be as bad as a 44 Magnum or even a 357 Magnum. However, something comparable in weight to the 43X or the 48, and you're firing 10mm, it might be a little bit rough to control. I don't know how much though, and we might not know until Glock actually puts one out, which I hope they do, and I think that would be really neat. But that's my be careful what you wish for, because it might be a little bit too much gun to handle, but imagine if it wasn't. So those are the 5 Glocks that are part of my deep, dark, twisted Glock fantasies. Do you have any? If so, go over to patreon.com/tfbtv. I'm gonna make a public post there. You don't have to be a Patreon member. I'll do a little poll, right? You can vote on the best, which of those Glocks, 5 Glocks that I mentioned in today's video, which one you like best, and then leave a comment and tell me which one you would like to see. Either one of mine or make up your own. And the best answer, I'll give a prize to. So get over there. By the time this video goes live, I'll have the post up. I'll have the prize there. You don't have to be a member of Patreon in order to participate. However, I would really like it if you guys joined us on patreon.com/tfbtv or subscribestar.com/tfbtv. YouTube's been demonetizing us, so we have to turn to crowdfunding. We need your help in order to stay on YouTube and to keep making these quality videos. We would really appreciate it. Plus, guys, we give away right now, as we sit here today, October 2019, we're giving away 2 guns a month to our Patreon and Subscribestar supporters. And once we hit 1,500 supporters, which we're almost there, we're gonna start giving away 3. So you've got a pretty good chance of winning a gun every single month. If you just join us and support us at the $5 level or higher, you are automatically entered into the drawing. We also couldn't do it without the help of our sponsors, Ventura Munitions. Of course, they are the best ammunition store in the entire world, and Blue Alpha Gear, as well as support from 511 and Federal. In any event, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy Halloween to everybody. Take care.